Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. The day this video goes out, the banned and restricted update will be coming out. I don't know if it'll be out before this video goes live or after, but I have a strong suspicion that this Entomb card is probably going to get the axe. At least I think it should get the axe. So I'm recording this nearly a week before the banned and restricted update, and I wanted to give Entomb a nice little send-off. So we're going to play it in a fun deck. This is a deck I pulled from the 5.0 deck dumps, and looks like a much more interesting way to be playing Entomb instead of the busted blue-black Reanimator deck. So, this deck has got like a nice fair aggro plan. So we've got Nethergoyfs, we've got Dragon's Rage Channeler, which can put a load of stuff into the graveyard, whilst also growing. We have Fear of Missing Out, which can cycle a card and then give us some extra combat steps with some of our guys, which is pretty cool. And obviously, these putting cards in the graveyard will power our Nethergoyf. We have ourselves the Entomb for Atraxa. We can also Entomb for Anger to get some hasty stuff, which is really cool. And then we can also Entomb for Fury if we need to remove something there and then. We've got ourselves Animate Dead, which are going to not only bring back creatures, but give us a different card type for Nethergoyf and Dragon's Rage Channeler, as well as our Fear of Missing Out, which also has Delirium. So, you know, just all the good reanimation stuff here. We've got some nice Thoughtseizes to round things out here, because these are going to allow us to mess with our opponent's hands. So combo decks that maybe don't care about our aggro plan, they're probably going to care about a Thoughtseize to the face. Lightning Bolt can go to the face if we need to speed up our clock. It can remove creatures. I don't really need to tell you why Lightning Bolt is good. We've got some Oliphaunts to do the whole Troll of Khazad-dûm style thing, where we can go and get a land whilst getting a creature that's worth reanimating into the bin. It's also a red card that pitches to Fury, and Lotus Petals just to speed things on our way. We have one of each basic, I believe. So we've got a mountain here and a swamp. We have one Surveil land, a bunch of Badlands and some fetch lands. We've got ourselves some Wastelands as well, so we can try and nip away at our opponent's resources. So a pretty cool sort of like machine head cross Reanimator deck, which is kind of interesting. At the sideboard, we got some graveyard hate in the form of Dauthi Voidwalkers and Faerie Macabre, so we're getting hard in on that. We get to play Pyroblast because we're in red, which is sweet. Shenanigans, this is a nice card to Entomb. I love Entombing for things that aren't creatures. So Entomb for Shenanigans is sweet. We have Molten Collapse, which can blow up little permanents or creatures. It's just a nice piece of removal that can sometimes be a 2-for-1. And that, lovely people, is a deck list. This is hopefully, I guess, the last Entomb deck list that I'm running on the channel, but we'll see what the ban list hold. And let's give it a nice send-off and show the more fun things it can do. Obviously, we're going to do some of the slightly less fun things of just getting Atraxa back. But hopefully, putting an Anger and a Shenanigans or a Fury in the bin is going to be sweet. Alright, like, subscribe, and let's get stuck in. Have you got magic cards you don't want taking up space in your home? Or do you just need some extra spending money? Well, my lovely sponsors, 3for1 Trading, are buying all collections, big and small. They are one of Europe's biggest traders and have a transparent process to sell them cards and make sure you're getting a good deal. Click the link in the description of this video to get an offer on your cards today. We are on the play here. Our hand is not great, to be honest with you. I think we can do better, so we're going to send it back. Okay, we can work with this. We probably put back one of these Entombs. That's just a thing that we can try and work on later. I think, are we getting... it's hard to decide if we're getting this Dragon's Rage Channeler into play or this Nethergoyf. If we want to... We could also Thoughtseize as well if we're worried about a turn 1 kill from our opponent. If we can get a swamp with this and Thoughtseize, and then next turn we can play both threats out, and then just play on basics. That seems reasonable. Alright, I think that's what we're going to do here. Just because there are a lot of scary turn 1 things that could happen to us in this format. So I think we just have to fire this off. Oh wow, our opponent's on some kind of turn 1 stuff here. So Under Mountain Adventure is a little bit sketchy for us. Not really a lover of Broadside Bombardiers or the Solitude. I think we just don't want the initiative to be part of this game for a little while. If they want to waste removal on our creatures until we can Entomb something good, I think that is fine. I'm going to take the Under Mountain Adventurer here. They can't play it on turn 1 unless they draw a Lotus Petal or another Spirit Guide. And they've probably got a lot of those in their deck to draw. Just a Snow-Covered Plains. Nice, beautiful basic land there. I do love the old Snow-Covered Arts. Okay, so we have a plan here if we want it. So I think the play here is actually to go and get a mountain. And we'll continue on with our little plan here of Dragon's Rage Channeler into Nethergoyf. Get these Solitudes out of our opponent's hand. They do also have an Elvish Spirit Guide. I just clicked the wrong one. So if they want to burn a Solitude on one of these, it means that we can go into something really sweet instead. And by really sweet, I mean Atraxa. Right, there goes our Spirit Guide, which you already clicked off. And then there's just going to be a Bombardiers. Yep, that's fine. Right, they're pitching Solitude. This is what we wanted our opponent to do. They can take our Nethergoyf because this comes back, I suspect. Yep. And now if we draw a land, we just get an Atraxa, and then that should be game over. So in our upkeep... Oh, they forgot to sack the... is it worth us entombing here? Because the Entomb just shuffles anyway. I don't think we entomb here. We just got another Entomb. I could Animate Dead this Solitude, but I don't think that's as good as the things that we can do. So I'm just going to send it here. Instant, sorcery, land, creature. So we get to attack for 3 here. I will Entomb. A Lightning Bolt, we don't... Well, we're not drawing this anyway because the Entomb is resolving, so we're just going to put cards in the graveyard. So let's put this Atraxa in. This gives us a 3/3 attack this turn. And then next turn, we can just Animate Dead this Atraxa. Yeah, they should have got 7 damage at our face by flinging the Solitude. I don't think that's going to matter here, but it might do. If we want to attack first here, don't we? Because we're going to lose creature out of our graveyard. Let's get our Surveil on. Alright, they're just skipping to the Atraxa. They don't even want to see more of our deck. I don't think our opponent missing 7 damage there makes a difference, so that's cool. Our opponent is jamming in some big O monsters. So I guess some removal that can kill big O monsters isn't a bad place to be. What doesn't look so good here? How much of our graveyard is going to be under attack? Probably a fair bit. I think just the tempo side of things is actually pretty reasonable here. If we're boarding in 3 cards, how much of our graveyard package are we looking at getting rid of? Because obviously we can Animate Dead their guys, which is kind of a big deal. So maybe we just... Are we really stripping out 3 Entombs? Like, we've got other ways of binning this off from our hand. I think this works. I think this is what we're going with, because I'm expecting them to mulligan to, like, Leyline the Void style stuff. If we draw the Atraxa, we can bin it off. We can reanimate our Furies and stuff. We need land, so this is not going to be happening here. This is also not going to be happening because we need lands. Come on, deck. Come on, deck. Okay, I'll keep this. I want this. I don't mind wastelanding our opponent. I think 2 wastelands is actually more interesting to me than the second Oliphaunt. Are they going to put a Leyline to play? No. I don't know what their graveyard hate of choice is going to be. I would have thought Leyline, because they're a stompy deck that wants to use their mana in the early turns of the game. They don't want to have to spend their mana on graveyard hate. They just want to be, you know, foot on the gas pedal and go. Playing Sea of Traitors on turn 1 is a little bit scary for us. This is going to be a 4-drop. Which 4-drop is it going to be? Is it going to be a 5-drop? No. They just don't want to crack their Lotus Petal. Okay. Seasoned Dungeoneer is doing its thing. So our opponent has used a lot of resources to make this happen. We need to be able to take the initiative and kill their guy. Our deck can do that. Nethergoyf is not the one right now. We'll get this Dragon's Rage Channeler going. This means that we can try and dig towards something if we find some non-creature spells. Yep, they're just going for the forging up their guy, smashing big time. Initiative creatures on turn 1 broke the format once upon a time and they had to get White Plume Adventurer banned. So them making a turn 1 Seasoned Dungeoneer pretty darn good. They're also showing us this Faerie Macabre. So this is on top of their library. Now they are Cavernous Soulsing, and they're probably going to get another thing and dome us for 5, and then we'll probably be dead on the next turn. So like an Undermountain Adventurer maybe? No, they're going to Solitude here. Yep, I would describe this as pretty bad news for us. Do I think there's any merit in playing this game? I don't think there is. I think we're just going to go back and try again in game 3. I like how we sideboarded here. We did see some graveyard hate. Like, there's always a temptation to try and do the big powerful thing, but then they have clean answers to it and plows and stuff. Alright, I'll keep this. So what we can do here is kill that thing with a Fury, and then immediately... Yeah, we can kill that thing with a Fury, then immediately Animate Dead it back. And then we can take the initiative from them and have an initiative creature of our own. If they don't play initiative creature on 1, then we can just play out the fear of missing out. Solitude. That's a pretty good one. Ancient Tomb. So this gives us an opportunity to go and get the Surveil land. See if we can maybe put something super spicy into the graveyard or just smooth out our draws. I will take a Reanimate because there's a Solitude over here and that's a fine thing to reanimate. I'm going to play Fear of Missing Out. And I'm not going to discard a card. Oh, I have to discard a card, do I? Interesting. Kind of an awkward one here. I think just being able to reanimate stuff is really important. And I want Fury as a thing we can pitch cast. So I guess it's just a Lightning Bolt here. Okay, we drew a Molten Collapse. So if they spend all their resources to make a guy and then don't Solitude our creature, we can steal the initiative. If they do Solitude our creature, we can obviously get that Solitude back. Alright, Seasoned Engineer is here to play. Okay, I think the play here is we will pitch cast this Fury. I will try and take their initiative from them. If that doesn't work, then I'm going to try and reanimate their Seasoned Engineer. Okay. I think it's better to be the mana efficient play here. Try and get the Seasoned Engineer that way. Do you have a Faerie Macabre as well? It's possible. No. Okay, so we get to take the initiative here. We get to get our Swamp out of our deck. And that is a pretty good turn for us. Opponent's down to 4 cards, and one of them is a Mountain. 5 cards on their draw step. They do not have a follow-up over there, by the looks of it. Oh wow, we just got the match. GG's opponent, let's go to round 2. This just sends on turn 1, or we can Thoughtseize first. This seems acceptable. And we kind of have 2 lands, kind of 3. Swamp, Nethergoyf. Okay. I'm going to just start off with a Swamp here. Let's see what our opponent's working with. Barragoyf, Dauthi Voidwalker, Fatal Push, Nethergoyf. Okay, so I just take the Dauthi Voidwalker here. We're on mono black, so we can definitely send when we need to. Okay. Alright, so we know what they drew for turn. We can't be Wastelanded this turn cycle. Also great. They're just surveilling to try and grow their Nethergoyf. Makes sense. I don't think they're going to enjoy Atraxa coming down. So we're going to take 2 because they kept the card on top here. Kind of worrying that we took the Dauthi Voidwalker for them. They can probably anticipate what is about to happen. Nethergoyf, sure. If our opponent wants to spend their Wasteland getting rid of our thing when we have an Atraxa, be my guest. Alright, what looks good here? We'll take this artifact. We'll take probably this creature. Let's see any. I think it's better than the Oliphaunt. Okay, our opponent's just scooping because we have an Atraxa on turn 2. Fair enough. Yeah. Our opponent's playing a bunch of creatures. They're also playing stuff that cares about their own graveyard. So these creatures also seem good. So I have 7 things I'm interested in. I'm expecting some heavy hating out of our graveyard from our opponents. Black has like ley lines and stuff. Now spell bombs, all that sort of jazz. A whole bunch of things that we maybe need to go down on. So if we strip out these 5, then we need to strip out 2 more. So maybe we're just getting rid of some reanimates there because the life loss might be a bit much, but we still can just reanimate some cool stuff. Just reanimating Furies and Oliphants is reasonable. Alright, I'm down with this. So the Dauthi Voidwalker can shut off things like the Nethergoyfs. And maybe we can discard a Barragoyf and reanimate it, or discard a Barragoyf and play it off of our Dauthi Voidwalker. Okay. Do I think our opponent's going to have creatures for us to steal? Maybe. If not, we can always reanimate our Oliphant. If they've got a ley line, then obviously these things don't look so hot. I'll keep this. No ley line. Alright. We're going to get Thoughtseize, or we're going to start with a threat. Like a Stalactite Stalker, like a Cecil, or a Nethergoyf. A Dark Ritual. Okay, we might be getting multiple of these. Another Dark Ritual. So we get up to 5 mana. Just a turn 1 Barragoyf. Yeah, that's pretty good. And a Dark Confidant. Sweet. It's been a hot minute since I've seen Dark Confidant. Not sure how good Dark Confidant is this day and age. But I wish it was better than it is. So I guess we're probably doing... I don't know if I want to Thoughtseize right now or not. Because they could have another Barragoyf. We could just get the Oliphaunt into play. What am I worried about from their graveyard? From their hand? Hand disruption doesn't really mess us up. The life loss is kind of a big deal. I don't want to put more stuff into the graveyard either. I think I'm just going to pass and then try and cycle this in the end step, and then we can reanimate this, and then we've got a 5/4, which can usually tangle with anything they've got going on. I think that's a safer play. They might also mill over something good that we can take. Alright, they took 2 from another Dark Confident. Not a card you particularly want lots of. Although, they're gaining a bunch of life, so they're going to offset it. They've got a lot of card advantage over here. I would feel good in my opponent's spot here. They're going to take 4. They're going to mill themselves for a couple of cards. Undoubtedly. They find a Nethergoyf and a Barragoyf. Take the Nethergoyf because you can cast it and then we can reanimate your Barragoyf. They did do that play. That is exciting for me. Unless, I guess they would have to like double Thoughtseize us. They're going to duress us. That's fine. We have 2 Animate Deads. Our Barragoyf can check their Barragoyf. We just play this merry song and dance. Like, our opponent is definitely getting a solid amount of cards on the go. I think we can probably board out some Wastelands in this matchup. Now I think about it. Bring back in... I don't know if we can fit an Entomb package in, but we'll see. Alright, I would like a basic mountain, I think. Just get ready for Wastelands. Another Oliphaunt. Give me your Barragoyf, please. They could have a Faerie Macabre here. They do have a Faerie Macabre, and they're stripping out 2 creatures. We are in a spot of bother, I would say. So we're getting clocked for 7. This is basically half our life total. I'm sure they can come up with 1 point of damage from somewhere. They declined to use the Barragoyf ability. There's a Saga in there as well. Okay, so we're not boarding out the Wastelands. That is good information to know. There is a Dark Confident. So we're probably looking at having to play an Oliphaunt this turn. Or not. Put 4 damage on this. This feels pretty gross if it works. This has got 2 damage on it, and it's a 5/6. So we put 2/1/1 there. There goes our opponent's board. Here goes their last land. And yeah, that felt like one of the best tests I've had in Magic for a while. Yep, just get out of there. Bloodstained Mire. Nethergoyf. Bigger than our creature though. We draw the Stone Cold banger off the top? No. We have a Surveil land. So this clocks for 4. Do we have to block this Nethergoyf? Or can we take 5? It's feeling like we might have to take 5 here. We need to keep Reanimate online, so if we can play the Fury... If the Fury dies, we can reanimate the Fury, or we can reanimate their Barragoyf or whatever. So we need to keep our life total high, so there's probably going to be a chump block from us. They left a card on top of their library, so it might be a removal spell for our little Fury. Or is it just... Oh, a Liliana. That is a removal spell for the Fury. Alright. Yep. We will sacrifice our only creature. Can't even be mad at our opponent. Getting killed by Liliana and Dark Confidence in the year 2025. It's kind of sweet, to be honest. Alright. I think we need the Surveil here. They do have an Urborg. But I think just looking for an extra card here is really clutch. Fear of missing out. I don't think this does anything. I think we have to put this into the graveyard and roll a little higher. Another Nethergoyf of our very own. Smaller than our opponents, of course. But it chump blocks just as well. Do we need to play out a land? If we play out a land, they plus. We don't get to hold stuff in hand necessarily. I think we just hold these cards in hand. Maybe we get a Thoughtseize or something out of our opponent. But yeah, we are in chump block mode with our Nethergoyf. We can bring it back again though. Right, I will discard this fetch land that I don't want to pay life to use anyway. Another Liliana. So they minus this, we die. GG's opponent. So then we're back to the old sideboard. Like, I'm pretty happy with how we've sideboarded. I don't think we want the plan. They didn't show us ley lines, but that doesn't mean they don't have them. Having stuff to discard to Liliana makes sense. We also saw the Urza Saga, so they might have a package for the Urza Saga. Does that mean we want Shenanigans, maybe? Maybe that's better than one of the Reanimates. We can blow up Constructs or whatever they get out with it. I think it's worth a hedge. Worst case scenario, just pitches to one of our Furies. Yeah, this hand is kind of fair, but I like it. So we play out the Raucous Theater. And I think I play out the Lotus Petal as well. Wasteland, we've seen Urza Saga from our opponents, so I will leave this on top. If they didn't show us the Urza Saga last game, I would not have even kept in the Wastelands, let alone keep one on top of my library. And we've got Swamp into Grafdigger's Cage. Well, I look pretty smart and handsome with this Molten Collapse, don't I? We don't need that right now, though. I'm going to play out this Wasteland to try and deter Urza's Saga stuff. And then we're going to try and get a creature and the Grafdigger's Cage in one go. We're going to be trying to exchange resources in a profitable fashion in a matchup like this. We want to see them like play a Dark Confidant or something, and then we can just hit it. Dauthi Voidwalker. Descend is if a permanent card was put into your graveyard from anywhere. Dauthi Voidwalker, not great at stopping that from happening. Interesting. Does that mean we're doing something different here? I think it does, actually. I think it means we're playing out this Dragon's Rage Channeler and this land. We're kind of slow rolling what we're up to a little bit. And next turn, we can Fury and Molten Collapse and do a bunch of stuff. I'll take 3 here. So our opponent's follow-up is. Well, we're playing with fire a little bit here because our opponent could be like duressing us. Okay, a Wasteland. Are they going to Wasteland us? No, they're going to go for a Liliana of the Veil. Make us discard a card. Or they're going to make us sacrifice a creature. That is A-okay with me. Our Dragon's Rage Channeler is clinging to their life by making Magic the Gathering run nice and slowly, so I can't quite sacrifice. It's just, there it goes. Okay, we're not cracking this. So I think we're just pitching Fury here. We can clean up both their bodies. We can stack this so the Fury does go in the graveyard. Fury does hit Planeswalkers. And then we can crack this for... Because I want the land in the graveyard is the reason I'm doing it this way around. I think we get Badlands here. And I'll deploy this Dauthi Voidwalker. How worried am I about our opponent's Wasteland? Do I just want to snap this Wasteland off right now? Or do I want to save this for the Revolt on this? I'm more worried about an Urza's Saga. I think we just let this slide for now. It could be awkward, but we can still Animate Dead if they Wasteland us. Now, if they double Wasteland us, we still get to Animate Dead because we have a Petal. Dark Ritual. Alright, they're putting a lot of resources into whatever they're about to cast. Is it like a Shouldered or something? Another Dauthi plus what? Hand Disruption? Or they're going to play a Barragoyf as well. It is a Barragoyf as well. Okay. So we don't get to put anything into the graveyard to trigger our Descend here. Not Revolt. Revolt and Descend are very different. Which is kind of annoying for us. So I guess we do Molten Collapse here. So we can Molten Collapse the Grafdigger's Cage. Or we could just bring back the Fury this turn. If we bring back the Fury, we can take this out or this out. If we take this out, we're going to have to Molten Collapse this and then take this out. If we blow this up, it puts an artifact in the graveyard. So that doesn't actually work for us unless we... You blow this up, artifact goes into the... Oh, no, it doesn't go in the graveyard because we have the Dauthi Voidwalker, right? Okay. So this is destroy target non-creature, non-land permanent with mana value 1 or less. So this is black and red. And we can get back our Fury. Ah, they've got Faerie Macabre. How rude. Okay, is there anything good in our opponent's exile zone? No. Hold on. A card an opponent owns with a void counter on it, so we can't even get back our opponent's stuff. Okay, big punish on that. Okay, I think we will take out this Wasteland now. Am I going to attack here, or are we just trading Dauthi Voidwalkers? They can get back. Nothing of that much note here. I guess I could Molten Collapse our Dauthi Voidwalker, but then we're trading for it anyway. Okay, I think we're just going to hold back for a sec and try and trade off Dauthi Voidwalkers. Because Shadow is not unblockable. Shadow can only block or be blocked by Shadow creatures. So the rare Dauthi Voidwalker blocking Alright, I will certainly block here. The Voidwalkers see each other hit the bin. They get back a Dauthi Voidwalker and play it. Not bad opponent. This has been a pretty good game of Magic. Some nice back and forth. Alright, we have a Wasteland for this. A Fury. Well, we have a plan at some point. If we Wasteland here, it takes us further from the plan, but I think we just have to live with that, really. We can't let them have a bunch of constructs, because then we're never going to claw our way back into this game. 5-6, though. But we have Molten Collapses, which can deal with the Barragoyf, and then a red card gives us an answer. Oh, so they can put a Fury underneath their Dauthi Voidwalker now. Okay, opponent, I think you are going to win this one. They've got us dead in 2 turns. Alright, Barragoyf, what are you going to bin over? I don't think they should have actually milled there. Because if they milled over 2 good things, then we get one of them potentially. Although they do have a Molten Collapse that we can just get screwed with because of the Dauthi Voidwalker. Yeah, GG's. Alright, unable to put that one away. Let's go to round 3. This hand is not a keeper on my mind for sure. Let's mulligan. We do get to keep this because of the Oliphaunt. I'll keep this. What are we going to put back? Maybe just one Wasteland here. Don't want to get busted up by a Stifle or like a Dark Ritual Opportune Agent. No, but I also don't want to get done by putting this in the grave and our opponent just being able to utilize a Reanimate or something. If we get Stifle, we do have another Oliphaunt, so it's not the end of the world. I'm just going to take Badlands here. I think we're going to go for a Fear of Missing Out here. Basic Island is an unusual start from a tempo deck. So, okay, so we need to discard something here. We'll get rid of an Oliphaunt. We still have another Oliphaunt on the go. I've not really played with this card before. Not that I can recall anyway. The fact that it automatically, that you have to discard a card is kind of interesting. Although if you have no cards in hand, you do get to draw a card off of it. We're going to see from our opponent a Brainstorm. An end-step Brainstorm usually means that they really want to use their mana efficiently on their second turn, which could mean they've got a combo that they're just trying to assemble, or they have an answer that costs 2 mana that they want to find for Fear of Missing Out, things like Prismatic Ending, for example. So, we'll see. We're going to get another colour of our opponent's deck revealed. Blue to Delta. Is it going to be blue-black, or is this just a generic blue fetch? It's a swamp. Reanimate on our guy. It's the one thing we didn't want to happen. Okay. Let's cycle this and get the Badlands. I guess I will copy our opponent's play. We'll play around days this time. We're not attacking into their Oliphaunt. But now that we know that they are a Reanimated deck, we need to be a little bit more aware of what's happening here. So this has Trample. But when we attack with both, this can be big enough because this gives something +2 and +0 and Trample, so we can attack with a 4/5 and a 6/4. That's 10 power, that's not bad. How far away from Delirium are we? 2 card types. Land is one of those card types. Entomb, are they going to Reanimate right now and kill us? Probably. That's an Archon of Cruelty. Alright, they're going to a relatively low life total though. What am I going to discard here? Probably an Oliphaunt. So they probably attack with this. Yep. We take the 6 here. Our opponent's only on 8. So if we attack and Lightning Bolt them, we might be able to win. That's a pretty big if. I'll take it. Does Fear of Missing Out do anything here? We would need to draw like an Anger, maybe. And then the Fear of Missing Out can attack and swing, and we can do some cool stuff. So we could put an Anger into the graveyard and attack with 2 lethal Oliphants. That is a really sick line. Big fan of this. Is it going to work? Probably not. But we'll give it a go. So if we put Anger into the graveyard right now, then we play the Oliphaunt, attack with 2 Oliphants and win. We're doing it. Alright. That is a sweet win. Alright. To the sideboard. No thank you, opponent. I don't want to be putting my creatures into the graveyard. I don't want to be helping our opponent out on that front. So, what are we getting rid of here? Probably just a couple of Animate Deads. Is Reanimate or Animate Dead better? Animate Dead doesn't cost us life, so is better in like a race that we might be in. Can't believe that anger line was so good. So Animate Dead is also a different card type for Delirium, which is another reason I'm higher on it here. Do I want Pyroblasts? I don't think so. I think the... we want Molten Collapses actually, don't we? Yes, okay, so we want Molten Collapse. So we're going to take out some Reanimates and an Animate Dead here. And that's probably about where we're at. Animate Dead for Fury is fine. Yeah, I don't think we want to just pay the life. All right, I need to go in and screenshot that sweet win that we just had there. That was great. All right, this is a hand that does stuff. Let's see how battered we get in the first turn cycle. Just an island, that's what we want to see. Tamiyo is certainly one of the reasons we could have brought in a Pyroblast or two. But we do have Molten Collapse, which can hit this and a creature at the same time, which is nice. All right, let's crack this for... I think it's a Badlands. So we can either play the Channeler, spew off a couple of... I think we're just going to play the Channeler and spew off some stuff, actually. I think that is the most interesting line. Fear of Missing Out. That is an enchantment creature. That can go into the graveyard. So we're going to have Delirium here. The question is, what are we using our Delirium for? Are we deploying this Dauthi Voidwalker to shut down their graveyard into a very obvious daze, or are we just going to Thoughtseize our opponent? I think we're just going to Thoughtseize our opponent. That way we're less cold to a Wasteland because we'll still have a resource that can go and get the land off the Oliphaunt. You can stay on top because you kill a Tamiyo. Bitter Triumph. Force of Negation. Force of Will. Opponent paying 3 life. I'm happy for them to exchange lots of resources for what we're doing. We could take the Force of Will, but I think we're just going to take one of these Bitter Triumphs. That is a new innovation that I've seen in the last week or so. Because the Bitter Triumphs give them the ability to kill things like Kaito, which is sometimes an awkward thing for the blue-black decks to deal with because they now have Pyroblast. Here comes a Bitter Triumph on our guy. There it goes. Alright, let's cycle the Oliphaunt. Do I want to play... There's a lightning bolt around a daze they might have drawn, but straight into the Force of Negation. I don't think so. I think we're just going to play the Dauthi Voidwalker out. This is good enough to get a 2 for 1 out of our opponent. It is going to be a 2 for 2 because we had to use a Lotus Petal for it. Yep. So that's our opponent's resources almost gone now. They've just got this Underground Sea. Obviously, they've got clues, and clues can turn into other stuff. I'm going to crack a clue now. I'm going to attack first. So this can swing for 4 on its own. That's not a bad little clock, truth be told. They're cracking a clue. They're going to play an Underground Sea and a Ponder or something. So now we have the brainstorm dance, as we like to call it. I'll crack this. I do think we're just going for the lightning bolt here, because our creature draws a card if this works. Was the one extra card you drew? It wasn't. Okay, good. Can I get a Fear of Missing Out? This is just draw a card. You got a brainstorm? They had a brainstorm but didn't save their Tamiyo. That is fascinating. Why would you not save your Tamiyo in that spot? Alright, so this just draws us a card. Very nice. Oh, and now we're covered from the graveyard plan, which is the thing I'm really scared of. That might be a reason not to save Tamiyo if they're really close to putting together the graveyard combo that just beats us. But this beats for 4, which is nice. Are we going to see clues going on here? Alright, they had another Tamiyo. That's a reasonable enough decision there to keep that around. Like, if they've got this in hand, they don't necessarily need to brainstorm. But why wouldn't you just brainstorm anyway, though? If you're brainstorming that turn, why not just get more value out of it by saving your Tamiyo and keeping a game object around? Obviously, we don't know our opponent's hand, so it's hard to say. Are we cracking a clue token because they have spells they can cast, or are we just seeing a big Murktide Regent? Yep, so this is the problem. We have to play around our opponent's Reanimation, so we can't fire this off to stop the Murktide, and now they have a Murktide. Can we just draw an answer for it, though? No. Okay. I don't think we have to play this out as a blocker this turn, but it doesn't look great for this deck right now. But we kill them with 2 Oliphants. So, who's the real winner already? This is just a game brought to you by Tamiyo. The extra cards they got from the Tamiyo got them into the Murktide. 1 mana Planeswalker, too strong. They're not attacking with a Murktide. That gives us way more time to try and find answers. The problem is our opponent is drawing 2 cards a turn and we're drawing 1 card a turn. That is not a great situation for us and doesn't bode well for the future turns that we're about to experience. Okay. So if we Faerie Macabre to stop the Murktide and they Entomb Reanimate, we'd have felt really bad. But now they just have a Murktide and we still feel really bad. Cracking another clue. This is going to flip the Tamiyo. It's going to start working its way up towards being draw my half my deck sort of thing, and that would just beat us. Oh, this is a very good find for us. Lotus Petal. Crack this for black. Let's cast this for red. Boom. That is a great exchange if this resolves. We're playing around days. Of course they have the Force of Will. Why wouldn't they have the Force of Will? What a fool I am to think our spell would resolve. Once again, this game brought to you by Tamiyo, the Busted Planeswalker. We are in a spot of bother. And they're going to get back this Force of Will. I don't want them to do that. So we're going to get rid of that now. It does grow their Murktide, but their Murktide was going to grow when they got the card back anyway. But this way they don't have a Force of Will hard-castable just hanging over our heads. If we can draw the Molten Collapse, we can kill this and then kill the Tamiyo. A Thoughtseize. Our opponent's got 1 card in hand. Is this worth firing off? What else are we doing with it, right? Ooh, Atraxa. That's where they want that card. But we could draw a Reanimation spell before our opponent does. Now, we did board out quite a few of them, right? What have we got left? 2 Animate Deads. And our opponent has blue spells. So they can cantrip into it. They could also just, you know, turn the Murktide Regent sideways. They could have killed us by now if they wanted to. Alright, they're coming in now. So we attack the Tamiyo for 1, and then we attack the Tamiyo for 0, because both times we attack, this gets shrunk. That's not ideal for us. Wasteland, they can fire it off if they want, I don't care. It doesn't really impact what this game is about. Animate Dead off the top, please. So Renegade Justice. Not Renegade Justice. Okay, I guess we'll attack their Tamiyo for 1. Look at this. Our creature attacks as a 0/3 this time around. What a sad state of affairs. Do I hold this Wasteland? I think I hold the Wasteland because I don't want our opponent to be able to Wasteland us off of a Kicksmart. Oh, we're just dead, actually. What am I talking about? The Murktide Regent just comes and kills us. Our opponent just didn't kill us for ages, and I forgot that they could do that. Okay. Am I okay with what we got here? Maybe I do want a couple of Pyroblasts. Maybe we're just off the Animate Deads entirely. I can see that. Alright, we'll try this. The problem is, if they just start playing like Barrow-Goyfs or whatever, then Pyroblast looks very foolish. Whereas the Molten Collapse is always going to be a bit of a banger. We can't utilise our opponent's graveyard creatures. Turn 1, Nethergoyf, turn 2, Dauthi Voidwalker. And then we're looking for other stuff. We got like half a Ponder and a Wasteland in hand. I think this is keepable, not exciting. We're going to go for a non-basic here. If our opponent wants to play the Wasteland game, that actively favours us because we've got a whole boatload of lands. Just an Undercity Sewers. Nice. Okay. They put away a removal spell. Maybe they're looking for lands. Maybe this is the time where we get to play the Wasteland, play this Dragon's Rage Channeler, and then Wasteland them. They could Daze to protect their Undercity Sewers here. Right, so let's Wasteland this. Crack in for an almighty 1. Alright, they have a land, but it doesn't tap for blue mana, and that might be a problem for our opponent. We don't know. This means we can deploy a Dauthi Voidwalker without worrying about Daze this turn, which is very nice. We will deploy this before combat. If it gets countered, it will pump our Nethergoyf. They can Entomb in response. Right, just a Force of Will pitching Murktide Regent. This gives us an additional point of power to attack with. No land. So my instinct of them milling over a removal spell when we had a creature in play that they would want to remove, meaning that we should be hitting their lands, did work out for us. I'm going to play this so we can... No, we don't need to play around a Daze, do we? We can just shove this straight away. You got an Entomb response? No. Let's Surveil. See if we can grow our Nethergoyf. Pyroblast is an instant. We don't have an instant in the graveyard yet. I will just mill that over. We just need to get this game won now. There's no graveyard shenanigans. Something like a Tamiyo, when we've already got this much stuff in play, is going to be tricky. to really leverage. All right, they're just conceding the game, and we get the match. All right. Yeah, we're doing well so far, and we managed to... our opponent drawing lots of cards. Yeah, we managed to have one of the sweetest wins we've had on the channel for a while of Entombing Anger. Beautiful. That is something I'll miss if or when Entomb gets banned, but I think it would still be healthy overall. We've seen how busted some of that stuff is. All right, on to round 4. For the best Eternal experience this summer, check out Eternal Mania in Hasselt, Belgium from August 8th to 10th. Aside from hosting the European Legacy Masters, they have a whole host of other tournaments from team trios to old school and pre-modern. I will be there playing Legacy and hanging out as a special guest. This will also be the first event that I'll be giving out my own special Marit Lage tokens, so why not come down to enjoy an awesome weekend ran by one of the best TOs in Europe. Alright, our opener here is a little bit awkward. We kind of have 4 lands. If we include Wasteland as a spell there, we can call it 3 lands. This obviously enables some other stuff going on. We have this Entomb, which isn't the most exciting thing, but it does give us another type that we can put under Nethergoyf. I think this is acceptable, but not exciting. Obviously, if we draw any reanimation effect, and there's like 7 of them in our deck, then all of a sudden our hand pops up. So I think having the higher overall quality is... like the ability to draw a high quality play is pretty good still. Like the ceiling on this hand is like turn 1 Thoughtseize, turn 2 Atraxa. And there it is. Okay. So we want to go and get a basic swamp so we don't get wastelanded off of our really sweet play that we've got planned. Here comes our Thoughtseize. Let's take a look at your cards, opponent. A daze. Is our opponent going to Thoughtseize and then do some stuff to us? Or are they going to do reanimation spell? In the near future, we just don't know. We have to be really cagey about entombing because our opponent can mess with what we're doing. So I'd like some more hand attachment before we just fire it off. But our spot gets worse over time because our opponent gets extra cards from a Tamiyo. They can find some counter magic. They can find all sorts of things. Okay, so maybe they were just protecting the Tamiyo rather than counter magic. They wanted to protect their brainstorm to get the Tamiyo flipped. Because the Tamiyo has now flipped, we don't really have a choice. We have to try and send something because otherwise the Tamiyo is just going to run this game. So I think we are in Operation Send It, Hope for the Best. Oh, we could Fury first. And that might change things. See if that gets a counter spell out of our opponent. I like that a lot. This hits Planeswalkers, so it's kind of a big deal. This is 2 cards for their Tamiyo, which is a lot. 2 cards for their 1-drop. So, I don't think I'm sending it here. I think we're just going to play this Nethergoyf around a daze. Get some pressure going. We're ahead on board. We've got a really powerful thing to do in our hand when the coast is clear. A ponder from our opponent. So they can still fatal push and answer our Nethergoyf. But next turn we have Entomb Reanimate around a daze at the very least. Sure, we can get caught out by a Force of Will, but that's just the nature of the game sometimes. We need a black source, so we may as well get our Surveil land. Another Nethergoyf. That's actually alright here. And we just keep up the pressure and just save this as like another little salvo of stuff that we can fire in at our opponent. So we can Entomb in our opponent's end step and then try and reanimate it then. Because our opponent's going to have to look for removal and try and deal with what's in front of them. And then we can sort of blast them with what we've got in hand here. The ponder, obviously they could still do Entomb Reanimate stuff here. I don't know if they're on that or if they're on a tempo build. Tamiyo is just sort of ubiquitous across all the blue decks at the moment. Polluted Delta. 5 cards on our opponent's hand. Alright, let's go for an Entomb. Alright, I will get the Atraxa. I'm going to cast this Reanimate because if it doesn't resolve, we don't have a sorcery in the graveyard. We already have a sorcery in the graveyard. Okay, I'm going to go for this Fear of Missing Out as well. If this gets countered, we get an enchantment. We do now have an Atraxa which might be enabling our opponent's game plan. So this is just going to draw us a card, which is nice. We get to bash for 8 here, which means they can reanimate an Atraxa because its only mana value is 7. It'll put them to 1, but it will leave us in... Okay, they're cracking a fetch land. I guess they had to crack a fetch land here, yeah. So they can't reanimate our Atraxa. They can animate dead it. I think if they have an animate dead, we just lose here. We've put ourselves in a position where we have lethal next turn. Cracking a clue. They're down to 6. Please don't animate dead me. Ponder. This could obviously find such a thing. The Force of Negation means they might be leaning more towards a tempo build, but we obviously don't know. So we can't really make an educated guess based on, like, all of these cards exist in multiple shells. Force of Negation is pushing me to thinking tempo more than Reanimator. But even if they are Reanimator, they might be doing more of a tempo plan anyway. So what if we just, I guess, against a tempo plan, we want the Reanimate thing. That lets us beat the tempo plan anyway. But we want some like Molten Collapses for their creatures. And possibly some Pyroblasts. This isn't a matchup we particularly want to use any Wastelands in. These are kind of part of our mana base. We can only really shave one because we are using them to cycle Oliphants. So let's just pull out all of our sort of Reanimation package and examine how much of it we want to keep. Because if they are a tempo deck, they're going to have things like Grafdigger's Cage, which can be a bit of a pain. So I think I'm going to get rid of a couple of Reanimates and an Entomb. I like everything else here. I'm going to trim another Reanimate here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, maybe trim an Entomb. We can still Reanimate other things. We're just going to ease off the graveyard a touch until we have a bit more information about how this matchup is actually going to go. We have a very good thing to discard with Fear of Missing Out, which we haven't done yet, which is cool. We can also just do like Oliphaunt lines, which is fine. I'll take this. We can play on basics as well. So this gets us Swamp, and then we cycle it for Mountain. A Tamiyo. Okay, so we probably just need to kill this on sight. Is that true? Probably doesn't hurt. Now we found the other land, I don't mind just firing off a lightning bolt right now. If they have a daze, it's annoying, but we can live with it. They're just going to have to try and leverage the card advantage. Okay, it went through anyway, but if this didn't die, let's have the daze, then they're further away from Kraken Clues anyway. It's just kind of the thing we have to do in that situation, really. Another City Sewers. Still no information as to what our opponent is actually playing. Fatal Push. Still no information. If you see a second Undersea Sewers, that probably means Reanimator. What would I like to do here? Our last play worked around a daze. Alright, I think we're going to go get our Swamp and just try this Fear of Missing Out. Like, we have way scarier things in our decks. I'm not really sure this is where they want to be pointing their counter spells. Obviously, this is a... Oh, wow, this is just good for us. I'll get rid of this creature. And then we get to attack. Because we have haste. Look at that. We don't get attacked twice. But that's pretty cool. I don't think it's worth Wasteland here. These decks usually run on quite low land counts. We could see something like a Barragoyf here. Just an Undersea Sewers. Okay, so there might actually be a Reanimator. So Wasteland them to keep them off of 3 mana for Barragoyf is important. Especially if we're not doing much else. A Murktide Regent, you say? That is a large customer. We can kill it. We can kill it in style as well. So we need to... I think I play out the Wasteland here. Is that true? No, we probably play out the Verdant Catacombs so we can just play out more bodies. I'll crack this now. Just so we have all our mana available so we don't get caught out by weird timings on anything. So I'm going to do a play that, if it works, will be really good for us. We're going to try and Fury this Murktide Regent and then Reanimate it. Put 4 damage on this. I'd like to Reanimate this Fury, please. Right, they have a Force of Will. Okay. We still get to play a Hasty Nethergoyf. They can trade with either of our guys because their creature has 4 damage on it. I'm going to untap. What would I think they'd rather trade with here? They'd probably rather trade with the Nethergoyf, although we can get it back. If we untap itself, then I can just block this and leave the Nethergoyf in play. What would I rather them kill here? If we take the Nethergoyf back into play, it'll be what? We'll have 1 land left. Creature, enchantment. So we'll have a land and a creature. So it'll be a 2/3 if we reanimate this. Okay, I'm going to untap the Fear of Missing Out with the idea that they trade into this. It's the same damage either way. If they block the Fear of Missing Out, they take 4 here. If they block the Nethergoyf, they take 2, then they take 2 again. If they block nothing, then they just take loads of damage. This deck is really sweet. Alright, so trading with the Fear of Missing Out here. Our opponent could still be a Reanimator deck. We've seen 2 Undersea Sewers, which tends to be more of a Reanimator thing. We haven't seen much in the way of other threats. We've just seen like the top and bottom end of the tempo plan of like the Murktide and the Tamiyo. The fact that every creature we draw has haste now is good. Okay, so here is the Entomb. So we do know what we're playing against now, and my deduction from the second Undersea Sewers was fine, but we didn't know going into this game. what our opponent's main strategy of their deck was, even though he played a whole bunch of turns. And that is kind of scary. Is the last card in your hand a Reanimation spell? If it is, then we need to draw a Pyroblast or a Molten Collapse. Okay, it's just a Murktide. Pyroblast and Molten Collapse also still good here. We drew neither of those things. There's no point playing out a Wasteland. There's no point activating a Wasteland here. There's not really a difference between 3 and 4 mana for our opponent here. I'm going to leave this Lotus Petal in hand. I think so. Make our opponent think about things. I'm not just going to send this in for no value. They're just going to stonewall us until they draw something better, is what this game is going to look like now. But if we leave this Wasteland around, maybe we can set our opponent off of a hardcast Force of Will later on in the game. So we've got some interesting lines we can maybe pull with it. A Molten Collapse. I would like to destroy target creature or planeswalker. Get out of here. They did not have the Force of Negation. We couldn't have Wastelanded them off of Force of Negation anyway. This is half of our opponent's life total. They've got 1 turn to put something together. And even if they kill our Nethergoyf, it is coming back with haste. Another Entomb, just getting some cards out of their deck. So we don't want to see a Reanimation spell or a cantrip. Don't have either of those opponent and we're all good. Alright, we got the match. Our deck looked really cool there, and discarding an Anger to the fear of missing out was really cool. I had a lot of fun doing that. Alright, we're 4 rounds in now. So 1 round left. We're potentially looking at 4-1 here. We're not a million miles away from the trophy if this had gone the right way as well. Okay, let's see if we can put 4-1 on the board. Okay, this hand is really clunky because getting rid of the Anger to the Fury, I guess that's like not too bad a thing to do, right? Because this isn't doing anything while it's in our hand. But we're kind of reactive. We don't really have a game plan here, but we can sort of surveil land our way through it. I will keep it. If our opponent's doing stuff that doesn't care about creatures on the board, then we're in trouble. Anyway, if they're playing someone that wants to keep a load of creatures in play, then get wrecked opponent, I suppose. I will just deploy this Scalding Tarn. Make our opponent think about counter magic. And then we'll just have a nice time. Opponent's going to play out some more elves. We're going to sweep a bunch of them. They're going to play out some more elves. We're going to sweep a bunch of them. And then our opponent's going to be sad. Allosaurus Shepherd. Sure. Go on, play another guy. A Nettle Sentinel. That is a very high value Fury. Paducah Bog. Oh, that's a sad Paducah Bog. Our opponent's going to be very sad here. But it looks like proper, like, old school elves here. It's been a hot minute since I've played against, like, proper combo elves. Dragon's Rage Channeler. Are you good? Yes. I'll put you on top of my library. So, we can use this Lotus Petal to make the Anger. So we probably playing out this. Then we play out the Dragon's Rage Channeler. We don't actually need to reanimate our Fury yet anyway. Let's play out this Channeler. Play out this Lotus Petal. Thoughtseize, I don't think that's what this is about right now. Then I will pitch cast this Fury. Our opponent's going to be very sad about this one. I don't think we want to reanimate the Fury now. It's just much higher value if we... It's much higher value if we just wait till they put some guys in play, because they're going to need to put a second wave. And then the second wave is going to be good. We're going to smash them down. Dryad Arbor. Play out some other thing. It's another thing. I feel almost bad about this. This is kind of like an ideal situation for us. Let me have this Fury back, please. I'll keep a Nethergoyf. Kill their stuff. Cut them off with green. Bash for 1. We know there's a Nethergoyf on top, so there's no point playing this Lotus Petal for a Surveil right now. We just save it in hand. We could crack it. Artifact, land, sorcery. No, we couldn't crack it. It doesn't make sense. Alright. Our opponent died to double Fury. So, there's going to be some elves over there. I would like some Molten Collapses to help beat these elves. More removal is the aim of the game. How much do I suspect our graveyard plan is going to be useful here? I'm not expecting it to be the best. I think it's going to be fine. Like, reanimating a Fury is probably better than reanimating Atraxa most of the time, as funny as that is. So we could just, like, snipe down a couple of stuff like this. Just get rid of the Atraxa package and have this. Although, I think having an Atraxa is probably okay, though. Let's do something like this. We don't need the Entomb to make our Reanimates good when Fury is an absolute bang with the matchup. Also, the Oliphaunt being a Trampler is really good too. This is a matchup I think we are pretty well equipped for, because we are removal.deck in terms of the Lightning Bolt, Fury, Molten Collapse. That's a lot of removal to point at our opponent, especially since we can replay the Fury a bunch of times. I am leaving the Thoughtseizes in. Okay, we have Fury, Lightning Bolt. We don't have any red mana yet. But we're on the draw, and we do have stuff we get to do here. Here we're going to be a Mana Dork of some description. Okay, so it's going to be the Dryad Arbor. I will deploy the Nethergoyf, and I'll deploy this Lotus Petal in case we need to use our Lightning Bolt for something. Like, combo elves can go pretty hard, so having just a little piece to interrupt them doing that is useful. No attacks, no plays. Very interesting. A Bloodstained Mire. I will attack with my Nethergoyf here. Our opponent can hardcast a Fury. Oh, sorry, not Fury, an Endurance here. Am I okay with that? I'm going to crack this land. I think that's a good starting point. And I don't think we need to get basics here. So we just get Badlands. Do I want to Entomb? If I Entomb, I Entomb off this Lotus Petal. Just to push more damage, I think. Are they just going to get us with an opposition agent? We have the Lightning Bolts, that's not an issue. Alright, Underground Mortuary. So no hard cast Endurance here. I put a card on top of their library. Let's put this Atraxa into the graveyard here. So this is going to connect for 4 now. And then if our opponent can interact with this, we'll find out. Alright, we just get an Atraxa. Alright, what would I like here? There's almost 2 enchantments, actually. So we can take an enchantment. So I like the removal spells. We're going to take a Fury, because that's like the best thing our deck does against our opponents. I'll take... Do I want to... I think I want a Badlands, actually. We would like an enchantment, so we could be the Fear of Missing Out. That seems like a fine selection to me. I don't believe I'm going to try and Lightning Bolt anything this turn. Or try and Fury anything. Maybe that's wrong and we're just supposed to take out the Dryad Arbor. But obviously we are in a very good spot here. Elvish Archdruid. That is not going to cut the mustard, I'm afraid. Right, I will pitchcast this Fear of Missing Out to this Fury. They know we have this Fury. They don't know about these other 2 Furies. Yeah, I feel bad. Our opponent was doing something a bit unorthodox in this current meta, and we just steamrolled them. So that was a pretty clean 4-1. 2-0, 2-0, a couple of 2-1s in there. And the one round we lost, we only lost it by a 1-2. I can't actually remember what happened in that round because I recorded it yesterday. 5-minute loss and 11-minute loss. I don't know. All right, but we're pretty close. This deck is pretty darn sweet. I thought it was going to be kind of mid, to be honest, looking at it. I thought it would be fun, but I didn't think it would be that competitive because I've played decks that look a little bit like this before. But it turns out you can just bang in 12 cards into any black deck and it becomes really, really strong. And the fact is that our deck supports this even better than some of the blue-black decks in a lot of ways because we've got these cards which also are really good to reanimate and put themselves in the graveyard for us. So, yeah, it turns out if you play the best rate tutor in the format, which also is a combo enabler, it makes your deck really good. Who'd have thought? But we did basically all the cool things I wanted to do today. We Entombed for Anger to win a game. That was incredibly sweet. I'm absolutely buzzing about that one still. We Fear of Missing Out, discarding an Anger and attacked. That was really cool too. The Rakdos Channeler was fine here. It's like a good role player. I could see maybe swapping one of the channelers for another Nethergoyf because we are filling up our graveyard a fair bit and we've got a pretty wide variety of types. You know, we're cycling creatures, we've got instants, we've got sorceries like Thoughtseize, we've got enchantment creatures, we've got artifacts. So it's quite easy to get, you know, we were attacking for 4 on turn 2 with this Nethergoyf just now. So there is definitely an option to maybe swap that around, but then, like, the Channeler does have power if you're under ley line. It's only a 1-1, and I don't think that's good enough, But then, you know, we can just hard cast Furies and stuff if we're under a ley line. Fear of Missing Out is still a creature. It's not great, but it's still a creature. So, yeah, this deck seems really sweet. And I'm surprised at how well we did. But when we were playing the games, it just felt like our deck was really well built and lined up nicely into the things that our opponents were doing today. Obviously, that last round was really brutal because we had 3 Furies in one game in our hand against the Elf deck. Like, you're just not being that as an Elf player. So yeah, this deck is really sweet, and I, sadly, hoping it gets banned today, because I hope the Entomb goes away today for you lovely people watching. I don't know if the banned announcement has come or gone. Maybe I'll be really overconfident in my assumption that this is getting banned, and maybe I'll put the title of this video something like Last Hurrah for Entomb. Who knows? But yeah, this deck was really sweet, and I'm glad we got to give Entomb a nice little send-off if this is the very last time that we're playing it. Okay. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and goodbye. If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget turbo depths, as well as 3 tiers of support. A low cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel, a mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed turbo depths guide that is updated every month, as well as regular articles, and lastly, the higher tier gives you all of the above, as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.